At the start of the year, we also got a NVIDIA kind of keynote live stream from CES at the beginning of the year, and they shared a lot of their new updates, and I wanted to share my thoughts and some of the things that were shared to save you the time watching it. As always, I'll be linking down below to the full report and full keynote if you wish to watch it. The keynote opens with a promotional video showing a handful of use cases about why tokens can be helped and help grow AI. The CEO started talking about the history of the business back in 1993, where they helped gaming become possible on the PC. Followed by, in 1999, the first programmable GPU to making modern PC graphics possible. The following on to 2006, where they created CUDA, where they found it was hard to explain what and how it could be used. However, in 2012, we see the first use case being to start to create AI models specifically, with them showcasing the idea of where they felt AI was likely to go, and it's specifically moving from predictive AI, moving to generative AI, as we're seeing more nowadays in such programs as Photoshop and equivalent, then into Agentic AI, as we're starting to see more now, so that they do talk a little bit later on about the idea that you can have a AI work assistant, an AI process, or an AI person who is going to be sharing and helping a more senior coder or more senior engineer be able to code and would fill in that role for maybe a junior. Now, there is of course that debate where if that's a good thing or a bad thing, so let me know in the comment section down below. Do you think AI and some of the changes coming from NVIDIA are going to put people's jobs at risk, and is that necessarily a bad thing? There is a side argument that says about, is it going to create more creative jobs or not, or are we going to be in a position where actually we're all potentially in trouble to have our jobs removed, and then of course our income, and are we going to be in a state where actually we need to look at a model potentially where the government pays out or gives the necessities for those things that could potentially be manipulated? Just some ideas for you to consider. Leading into physics AI for self-driving cars and general robotics. Again, we'll touch more on those a little bit later. After a little bit of a history lesson, we're also shown the new GPUs, which we've come to expect this time of year, with the claims, everything in the video, and the following footage is shown and rendered in real time on the Blackwell cards. So they're the new cards that are coming to the market very, very soon. We talk on detail about how they're using AI technology to cut down on the processing time so that they can create better looking video game environments by only rendering 1 out of every 4 frames and allowing generative AI to be able to create the following 3. So it's going to generate those pixels, obviously drastically cutting down the amount of rendering required. After going into some more specs and breaking down their new card, after sharing the prices for a 4090 performance, it's going to cost you about $1,500 at the moment, because obviously it's the older generation but top end card, and now you can get the same performance, which is kind of standard when they release a new GPU line, which is the 5070, for only $549, and that is nearly a third of obviously the top end of the previous generation, with also sharing that the 5070 Ti, 5080 and RTX 5090 at $749, $999 at $1,999 for the top of the line GPU, with also showing they're also releasing a set of laptops with equivalent with all the GPUs in as well. So the bottom of the line, so the 5070 is going to be £1,200 for the laptop, the 5070 Ti is going to be $1,599, with the 580 being $2,199, and also the 5090 being $2,899 directly from NVIDIA. Then the keynote moved on to talking about how we can scale AI and how the next steps of AI training are really going to be done and really going to be the back end in detail. And for those layman's listening to this video, I'm going to try and keep the tech stuff to inside the presentation, but give you a brief synopsis. So the first was a pre-training scaling, where you need more PC power to be able to understand and train the data that you have. So this is where training a model like ChatGPT or DeepSeek or Gemini from Google, for example, would really use in that respect, and really use a lot of GPU power, allegedly, because there has obviously been some concerns and some questions about how DeepSeek specifically did do what they did for the cheapness. And we're going to be doing a standalone video after this show comes out, or during this show coming out, talking about that. So stay tuned for that if you are interested. As every day passes, we see more and more content being posted online, and NVIDIA are claiming that this means that AI will be using it better and better, because it's going to basically create and use all of the stuff that's being added to the internet. Now, there is being a large conversation, obviously, about the copyright concerns and the plagiarism concerns regarding this as well. But as we record this episode, it does seem like OpenAI are specifically, which is the main culprits of this specifically, are winning their legal battle related to making the argument that, well, all of the content was on public service and on public domain, therefore copyright doesn't matter. Bit of controversial. Let me know in the comment section down below. Do you think this is scandalous? Do you think this is doom of all of our jobs? Or is it just going to become a tool that could be commoditized? Therefore, it's going to become cheaper for everyone to use. But actually, it might just be not be the best tool to regurgitate crap, unless we learn how to use it, of course. The CEO goes on to then explain in detail about how using human feedback on these AI outputs, so I'll use ChatGPT as an example, will carry on making the models better for years to come, as it can use those feedbacks, use that data, and the more we use it, the better the model will get, because it will learn from itself, was my understanding of the presentation. Talking about whether AI will start to break down a problem step by step and start to understand how to learn to create the best answer. So we're starting to see these in the new models that are coming out, where it's not just simulating that data, but it's actually starting to quote unquote think about what it's doing and how it's actually thinking about creating that answer for you as a customer. With the details going into how the new GPU can help data centers save money on power and remove some of the largest bottlenecks from the older systems that they were using. And again, like anything specifically, again, we're going to get into more data and then crunching those numbers and be able to help build Blackwell cards to be more useful for AI learning. The fact that we got AI looking to scale and becoming more scalable and lower cost will mean it'll be a lower cost for you and I to use, but also it will become easier as a whole, because it will cost less money to run, because the more efficient these cards can be at processing all of this data in these data centers. It will likely mean that the corporations will option A, be in a position where they just take more profit share, or B, actually be in a position where it gets so competitive in the market that it gets completely commoditized, and then that's a win, because we could be in a situation where nearly every AI is free and open source because of how much market or how much people are in the market. So you can't necessarily mark up your price, because people will just go to the one that's pretty good for free, and that will then mean, and there was some talk I know on the internet last couple of weeks about the fact that ChatGPT specifically, the model isn't even profitable yet, because they don't have those larger scale user base to be in a position where they're bringing enough revenue to actually cover the costs at minimum that running their data centers is. So maybe Blackwell is going to help with that. We'll have to see in time. By building Agentic AI, we can work with softwares creating, building their own systems to create better software products as a whole. So this is a benefit if you're a massive developer. You can use Agentic AI to create better softwares to actually then create, and that's, I think, where a lot of people are really going to win in the AI generation or AI forefront where we are now, which is the AI age, I think that the people who create the models aren't necessarily going to be the ones that win. I think the ones that create the software that uses AI and how we see AI being used is where the real money's going to be made. Then we also got an introduction into NVIDIA Neo, which is likely going to be an AI workforce for you to use alongside your employees. Just a quick point on my view. I think a percentage of you will get worried about this potentially replacing your employees as a whole. And it's a fair question. They also talk about the fact that you would have an onboarding process for this AI workforce. And for you, the CEO does talk about the fact that we would need to put guardrails on them. As we previously have already reported last week, as part of the Joe Rogan experience when Mark went on, they talked about the fact that ChatGPT started copying itself in a closed environment that it's not actually meant to do because the team at OpenAI were trying to see what would happen if they did try and shut it down. Turns out ChatGPT doesn't want to be shut down. So this is where the kind of Terminator-esque problem becomes, because it will get to a point where it can rewrite its own code and also better itself over and over and over again, but also potentially see, or the theory is that we're going to be useless as humans and damaging the future, and it will deem that we're unnecessary and potentially, cause an apocalyptic situation. But of course, that's all theoretical at this time. But that is the concern for those who've been living under a rock for the last couple of years. And the CEO talks about the fact that your business's IT department will become your AI workforce HR. So when it comes to onboarding and making sure that your AI workforce is doing its job correctly, they will likely do that. They've also shared all of this information to be open source, likely to help them create a better product, because the more you can share, the more you're likely to be in the position where the more data you have, in turn it can learn more, in turn it becomes better, in turn NVIDIA actually benefits. Probably likely to do with why they're putting it out for free rather than trying to pay or get people to pay for it specifically. The CEO also shared about how it could be help across Pacific industries, and explained that nearly every coder in the world, the CEO believes that they'll have an AI assistant to help them with coding tasks, that if someone does not choose to have one, they would of course be not as efficient as someone who does. They also shared some of the ways that they feel this is going to work. For example, people who need to study so they're studying lectures and etc., they can use this AI to create a better use case, so a podcast or an audio version, or even some, I imagine, will become a video from the lecture notes, and they can convert a document into those things using AI. Along with AI, it can also scan a set of code and point out security vulnerabilities in real time as it's been specifically worked on. So as a developer is working on it, they can specifically kind of use it to bug check in that respect as well. The CEO then moved on to explain how an AI assistant could be built into the new Windows version, and shared how it could be used in digital art processes to help AI create some on the concept building stages. Personally, I think that this could be an absolute game changer for anyone in the video production world, as we could use it to create storyboards and help articulate to our clients in pitches for medium/large productions. But I imagine, again, it will come down in scale. The more we do it, the more it happens, into even smaller jobs where you can use it to really fine-tune what you want your frames to look like, what you want your videos to look like through storyboarding as well. So it did look really, really cool and really quite promising, to be honest, in that respect as well. After the CEO then moved on to talk about physics AI, which goes into detail on how it plans to be used in the world of robotics moving forward, and explains some of the challenges that are needed to be conquered, followed by showing a new demo of a real life use case. The AI as they processed and building, as again also open source, likely due to the fact that the more people use and give the product data, the better it will become overall. The CEO then goes on to talk about in detail how the new physics AI is going to revolutionize warehouse spaces with robots working with your human employees. After this, he then goes into a talk about how their AI can help the automotive EVs move closer to become self-driving, and also announced that Toyota and NVIDIA are going to be partnering together to create a new generation of EVs, as well as some stats on how many miles are given each year and how he believes it will be mostly driven by EVs like self-driving cars in the future. And he believes that, quote, it will be the first multi-trillion-dollar robotics industry. They are also sharing the launch of the next generation computer for the car called Thor, as well as Thor not only being usable in car technology, it's also going to be potentially used in robotics, with the big claiming that it's, quote, the highest standard of functional safety for automobiles, end quote. It also seemed that they are using AI to create scenarios for building driving cases where they can train the AI to learn more and more about how to drive safely, using first recorded drives from person-driven vehicles, but also then using generative AI to create variations on those to allow the AI to basically have an infinite pool of stuff to learn from, to then know every possible reaction and then be able to react accordingly and feed that into the computer to be able to make the roads safer, was the claim, was the point. They also shared more information about their plans for the robotics industry, with them going into a lot more detail on how they can help create robotic tech and use the Apple Vision Pro to act into a virtual robotic screen, so the operator can create training data without using up real wear and tear on that robot specifically. Ending the keynote by explaining about Project Digits, which is an out-of-the-box supercomputer that was previously quite large. They managed to scale that down. So they did point out that back in 2016, the CEO hand delivered their first supercomputer back to a small startup known as OpenAI. For those who don't know, OpenAI has gone on to create ChatGPT, Midjourney, and equivalent in regards to AIs as well. He also wishes that Digit to become smaller. During the keynote, it does become smaller, quite a cool effect. They also show some great tech and talked about how their top secret chip is used and claimed that it can be available for some time or so. I'll leave, as I said below, the full link to the keynote down below for those who may be interested. But that's kind of what we learned. That's kind of what's going on with NVIDIA. Do you think they're making the correct decision? Do you think that AI is going to suddenly get infinitely better and we're all out of jobs and actually it's going to take over the world in a very Terminator-like style? Let me know in the comment section down below.